Facioscapulohumeral
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy. How's that?
Facioscapulohumeral. Am I cutting it close?
Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral
Muscular Dystrophy.
Facioscapulohumeral dystrophy is a form of muscular dystrophy that affects your face, scapula, and your humerals. But those are the muscles that are affected first and most severely, yet there are so many other muscles throughout your body that are affected. For me, it's my abdomen that are really weak. Any part of my arm, my biceps, my triceps, my legs are weak, my hamstrings, my calf muscles. It really affects almost every single muscle in my body. Over time, your muscles deteriorate, and sometimes they even just disappear. They can deteriorate so much that they're just not even there. And you might not even be able to get them back, for the most part. So some of the symptoms are that, you can't run. For me, I have a lot of back pain because of my abdomen weakness. So my back is very arched, which is called lordosis. And my vertebrae rub together, which causes a lot of pain for me. Bending over is very difficult because the abdomen muscles aren't there. Walking upstairs is very hard because, the hamstring muscles aren't there, and the foot drop caused by FSHD is a big symptom. So, that causes going up the stairs to be very difficult. A lot of people are in wheelchairs, they can't even walk anymore. Luckily for me, I'm not in a wheelchair, but, I went to this patient conference a little while ago, and it's crazy how much this disease just varies. And I think that's what makes it hard for scientists to really find, like a cure or a treatment, because everyone's just so different, and that's what's so unique about this disease. I was in 6th grade when I first found out that I had FSHD. It was hard because I was doing all these sports at the time, like gymnastics, field hockey, lacrosse, track. But, I realized I had to quit all of them because I just couldn't run anymore. That strength just wasn't there. And, that was really hard. It was pretty life-changing because, I was just so into sports, and I was such an athletic kid. Everything I do it in a way because of my FSHD. So, like the way I do my hair, how it's on top of my head, it's the only way I can do a ponytail, or the only way I can really put my hair up to work out, because I can't put my arms far enough to make an actual ponytail on my head. So I have to flip over and do a ponytail that way. The way I wear my shirt, I tuck it in because if I wear it long, then I feel like I look pregnant. And then, I have a flowy shirt on because of the way of my arch in my back. So just everything I do, even like when I work out, I think about my FSHD and how that's going to affect my workout, or how I'm going to look, etc. So I'll show some of my workouts that I do. doesn't have FSHD, or at least doesn't show signs. When you have FSHD and you give birth, there's a 50% chance that your kid will develop FSHD. But you could, like for my sister, since she doesn't show symptoms, she might, have the gene but just not show signs. You never know. It's hard to tell unless you get genetically tested. But me and my sister grew up, really close. We were always kind of competitive because we both did sports. A lot of times I followed in her footsteps and did some of the same sports that she did. But she's very into running. She's very athletic. She's very healthy. So we're very different in that aspect. But we're still obviously close. That doesn't really affect our relationship.
Here's the puppy dog.
That we can be
So in high school, obviously, I was, very involved in sports, and field hockey, cross country, and track and field were kind of the main areas where I really found myself excelling. And I definitely, took advantage of that. I think going into my junior year of high school was when I got myself involved with cross country, knowing that I kind of had this athletic running ability, and I started really dedicating my time and my passion towards it. And that's kind of what got me to my college career, running at a D1 school. I started realizing that your body was this special place and the only place that you had to live to call yourself home. And I wanted to really start taking care of my body. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about health and fitness. But another reason is knowing that, like, my sister and my mom don't have the same ability to run like I do or to work out like I do. And there's always that little bit of fear that, at some point I could develop FSHD. There's a good possibility that I have it in my genes, and I know my mom's came on rather late, and so did my uncles and even my grandpas, and I think it hits everyone differently, and there's obviously that fear that one day it could.
Throughout middle school is when I really started seeing the first symptoms. My scapula muscle bones were sticking out a lot. I was doing gymnastics up until 6th grade, so I did it for 9 years. And I actually had to quit because there was a certain move I couldn't get on the bar. I couldn't pull myself up. But I could do everything else that everyone else could do. I had so much fun doing it, but I couldn't move up any level because of that move that I couldn't get on the bar. So I just was stuck in one level, and I just really was getting tired of it. So I ended up quitting because I just didn't want to keep continuing on in the same level. Then I did track. I tried to run and do the half mile, but it was just really hard for me. So I ended up doing the high jump, which was really great because I didn't have to do long distance running and didn't really require very fast running. So I was able to just run a little bit and then jump over the bar. And I didn't really have great form, but it was fun for while it lasted. But sailing is something I did in high school for a while. I did it my whole life when I was younger. I sailed and won some races. I had a lot of fun when I was little. Then I sailed competitively in high school. And, I was on varsity, I won races. It was great because, it was finally a sport that I could do and I actually excelled at. Because it didn't require running or, a ton of strength. But senior year came around and I ended up having to quit because it was just too much pain in my back, and it was just getting way too hard for me to, go back and forth from side to side of the boat, and that was really difficult for me. Physical therapy is something that has really helped over the years. It's one of the best treatments for FSHD. Not that it is going to cure anything, but it can definitely help build muscles while you still can. I feel myself getting a little bit stronger every time I work out. My muscles are building a little bit. Just being able to activate muscles is what they tell you to do. And then I've competed in a public speaking competition at my school. That was the first time I really talked to strangers about my FSHD. That was definitely the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life.
At 13, I was told I had Facioscapulohumeral Dystrophy,
or FSHD for short. It's a form of muscular dystrophy. This disability took control of my body. My muscles were quickly deteriorating, and I was forced to stop playing the sports that I loved. I thought my life was over.
But that changed, honestly, it changed my life, like the day I did that. Because I just started opening up to everyone. I talked about it on Facebook to, my 1,000 friends, which is crazy because I never thought that, all these random people would know. But it's really freeing to know that everyone understands and you don't have to hide it.
I've had this condition, FSHD, also known as Facioscapulohumeral Muscular Dystrophy. Let's go way back in the history of this disease. In my case, I was aware when I was a child, my father always wore long sleeve blouses. It wasn't for a number of years that I realized he had no biceps. I didn't think too much of this, and as a matter of fact, he lived to be 91. So that speaks for the condition that he had and how benign it can be. It wasn't until I was out of medical school at the age of 31 that I noticed also that my biceps disappeared. Now, in those days in med school, this condition was not described. So it wasn't until I was 31 or 32 that I met a neurologist in the area where I lived, and he was a sharp character. He made the diagnosis within 15 minutes. At any rate, throughout my life, I had no particular problems with work in medicine. I'm a physician. I was an anesthesiologist, and I retired at 62. Throughout my lifetime, I lost over time the use of my shoulders, eventually walking fast, and a few other annoying things like that. One of the things with this condition, people are afflicted very early with the inability to smile. Fortunately, that's not the case with me. There is no treatment for it, but I kept working hard in gardening, making stone walls.
Dad's out in the garden. Gave him a job to do. He's doing it. Ground's kind of frozen though.
And I was a sailor, sailed a boat, and that was a good use of arms and legs to brace yourself when you're sailing with heavy winds. At this point, I am 84, and I'm having some problems with getting up from chairs, balance, but I find ways of making up for these particular problems. I have a daughter who is 50. She has the condition, and the first symptoms occurred at about 18 years of age. I have a son who is 56. He has very minimal problems, mainly with his shoulders and the ability to comb his hair.
So my senior year in high school, I realized something was up when all of a sudden I was reaching into my closet to hang up my clothes on a hanger. I couldn't get my arm up. And I was like, what's going on here? So that was the first sign that something was wrong. That was 1981, and I was 17 years old. All along I'd been playing field hockey. I had no problem running. I was known as one of the fastest runners in school. And I was still at that point playing field hockey. Right then, it had only started to affect my arms. I don't remember if we actually went to a doctor at that point. I really don't remember if we did, or my dad knew already, I think. He already knew what he had.
I think he'd been diagnosed, and it was because it was hereditary, it started to really look like that.
Right.
That it was all pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
And so.
And then in college, so that was a senior in high school, then in freshman in college, I noticed that my right calf muscle was a lot smaller than my other calf muscle. And then I was like, okay, this, that's kind of upsetting. But I really didn't have any major disability until after I got married and after I had kids. And that's when I started noticing the difficulty of bending down, reaching up. So that was in my 30s too. So I guess that's when the major onset came.
I didn't find out until I was probably in my 30s. But as a young kid in elementary school, I realized that I couldn't do push-ups and pull-ups like all the other kids. And so I knew something. Well, I didn't know anything. I just thought I wasn't good at sports, and I didn't have any strength. I thought I was a weakling. And then when I really noticed that I was different was during the summer, when I was wearing t-shirts. And I noticed all the other kids, their shoulders looked normal, but when I lifted my arms, it would stick out. It would stick out like a chicken wing. And that's when I noticed that there was, so I was definitely different.
I'm aware of my disability from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. Not that there is any pain associated with it, but it's the inability to do things that you all take for granted. Getting up in the morning, taking a shower. I had my shower designed so that I'm able to rest my arm on a shelf built in the shower. And I'm able to rest my arm and wash my hair. Then getting out of the shower, and brushing my teeth, I have to hold my arm in order to brush my teeth. I can't brush, I have to sit down to do my hair, to comb it, to brush it. To hold the hair dryer, I have to sit at a table that's high enough so I can rest my arms on it, and I can hold the hair dryer and the brush while my arms are resting. So that's only the first hour of my day. After that, everything else, take the dog out for a walk, my back starts to hurt. My back does hurt a little more now. I have to be very careful when I'm walking because I trip, I fall if on uneven surfaces. I really have a hard time walking upstairs. Now it's a little more difficult to walk down the stairs. Going upstairs, I have to one step it, which means one leg at a time, and I have to hold on with both hands. So I can't carry anything up the stairs. If I do, I have to take it one step and put the bag or whatever I'm carrying up ahead of me, walk, pick it up. Just everything I do during my day is difficult.
My day-to-day is nothing like Diane's. I have no issues getting up. My issues are doing anything above my chest. Any kind of lifting, getting stuff out of the cabinets, out of the refrigerator. I'm at the point where I can almost not do it if it's more than a pound. It's so heavy I can't even lift it up. It'll come down crashing on my head.
Don't even try.
Well, I want them to see.
Oh my God.
What I have to go through.
Okay.
In order to get that out. It's very hard for me to get things off of a shelf above my chest. I've noticed I'm getting a lot more just pain, not pain, but aches. A lot more aches in my arms, my chest, because I'm using other muscles to do things, and the muscles that are good are overworking. My abdominal muscles are starting to get really weak. So sitting on the floor, getting up off of the floor is very difficult. Getting out of like a kayak, I can't do it anymore because I have no strength to lift, push myself up, and I have no muscles in my and my abdominals are getting much weaker, and so I have a hard time doing that. So that's how it's affected my life.
There is, as I said before, no known treatment. However, they have discovered where the condition exists in our genetic system. It is a familial condition. Research is worldwide. However, there are very, very few people with this condition, about 500,000 in total. So research efforts are not funded that heavily, but we're making progress. From what I gathered, listening to others, there are a great many people in high positions with this. And what they can't do muscular-wise, they can do brain-wise. So one must have a good outlook on the prognosis.
It's scary to think that your disability could actually end your life, because no one wants to feel defeated in that way by their disability. I'm not going to let my disability take control of my life. So that's really why I just want to raise awareness. I want people to understand what people go through. If there's not awareness raised about this disability, the cure isn't going to be found. I think the first step in accepting yourself or your disability is to tell other people, to open up to other people and let them in on your life and how it's affecting you. I mean, I've seen so many people in this generation open up to people about what their issues, and people are so accepting. It's almost like you're praised for being different, which is great. I mean, that's what it should be. You should be able to be different or be normal. I mean, everyone should be accepted for who they are. And I think that's so big now, is helping with disabilities like this, because before this, it was never recognized. People don't know about it, and I'm just trying to get the word out there and spread awareness about it, because it's so important that people with this disability can be hopeful about their lives. So I hope that people watch this and it opens their eyes to something that they've never even heard about before, and that maybe it'll push people to make changes.